Greetings, members and friends of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of the Rappahannock in Whitestone, Virginia. Today is Saturday, June 13th. My name is Susan Moseley. I'm the pastor at UUFR, and this is my weekly reflection. I light our chalice first. And I light the chalice to represent the flame of sacred activism. We are still in the midst of a worldwide pandemic caused by the coronavirus. And we're in the midst of all the fear and frustration that goes along with that. Even though Virginia is in phase 2 of reopening, opinions vary greatly on the safety and timing of getting back together in groups. This worry is kind of the backdrop for many other social and political dramas that are unfolding. We know about and have talked about the tragic death of George Floyd and many other Black individuals because of unbridled police abuse and racism. But I believe that the availability to everyone of the video, the visual horror of George Floyd's murder, I believe that has forced this country to look at racism again in the face with new and compelling urgency. This is a powerful moment in time, and I believe that the Black Lives Matter movement can and must take center stage in our collective consciousness from now on. Systemic racism and white supremacy have sadly been a part of the fabric of our country from the beginning. These are not things that will be dismantled easily. But I am encouraged by the fact that energy for real transformation has been ignited. So there is much to do, much work to do that will take years, if not generations. But I don't want to spend this time going through all of the how-tos of the actions that need to be taken. We have many resources and groups available to us, and we will get to work. But I want to take this moment to reflect on resistance, dissent, and protest as spiritual practices. Resistance as a movement actually has to begin within the individual heart as a sense of resistance to a wrong or an evil. And as an individual, if you don't feel like you know what to do or how to do this work, maybe the place to start is to resist despair. There is a justice advocate named Megan McKenna, and she says, when you feel like there is nothing you can do, stand there, pray, and resist with your soul force. I really love that. It calls on us to pull up that soul force within us. Resist despair. And while resistance can be deeply personal and sometimes a very private expression, when that private posture turns public, we become part of a noble practice of dissent. Dissent is to proclaim one's separation from the majority or the status quo. In democracies, it is a treasured value which we honor in the classroom, in the marketplace, and in the public arena. Our UU history is a long history of resistance and dissent. It is in our DNA. We belong to a tradition whose ultimate mission is to bring about the beloved community right here on earth for all people. When our dissent finally rises to the level that we must stand our ground against hatred and white supremacy, then we protest. This is such a time. We stand together with our black sisters and brothers to let it be known that we will push back. We will work together to tear down the walls of white supremacy. Resistance, dissent, and protest are necessary, vital practices for people who affirm and promote the worth and dignity of every human being. The heart of our nation and the soul of creation is groaning for the restoration of human kindness. You know, all faith traditions and humanist ideals begin with the core value that we must treat others as we want to be treated. It is said in the Christian tradition to love your neighbor as yourself. That loving and life-saving gesture begins within. So these practices of resistance, dissent, protest are personal and collective spiritual practices. And I want to end with a prayer that I found on a website called Spirituality in Practice. And it has many resources for inspiration and encouragement and keeping the energy up for the work that needs to be done. So I offer you this prayer as our closing. May you take this shot of hopeful adrenaline, and as you use most of it to fuel your energetic participation in this moment, may you also preserve some of it in the deepest part of your heart, remembering that this high will probably also give way to moments of individual and collective discouragement, and that it is in those low moments that you will need to go to your reserves. Take a bit of hope that you've saved. Remember that this is a movement, not just a collection of moments. Refuel and keep going. Let your own inner resistance drive your dissent, your protest, and the work for Black Lives Matter and anti-racism. Continue now and forever. May it be so. And namaste.